Hi, I'm Tracey Hanbury, the director of the National Landlord Investment Show. Today is October the 26th, and it's our first day of returning back to live shows in London since November 2019. Obviously, we were meant to have many shows last year, like everybody else, and of course, they had to get cancelled for obvious reasons that were COVID. So I'm very, very lucky to be joined back here today by Andrew Neil, the political broadcaster, presenter, and all-round lovely man that he is. Andrew's come back to actually just chair our live debate, which was how COVID and Brexit have impacted on landlords in the UK marketplace. So we've just had the debate, Andrew, which was, over 300 seated auditorium.
That was a big crowd.
It was a really great crowd, and for us,
And engaged, you could see that, looking at them, they're interested.
Yeah, well, we couldn't get them through. We couldn't get enough people in there, which was amazing. And obviously the topic was very poignant with what was going on at the moment. What was your sort of comments in terms of, we had, David Smith from, our economics editor, gave some sound advice. We had NRLA there. We had Paul Champolina from, Landlord Action. So it was a real mix. Do you think it covered the subjects?
Oh, I think we covered the subject. I think it was also interesting that by and large people were pretty optimistic. I mean, I think if you and I had been sitting here a year ago, if we'd been allowed to do that, we wouldn't have thought the sector would be in the shape it is now in. Clearly, the pandemic had a huge impact on the sector, and it's been difficult. The freezing of evictions, the accumulated rent arrears, people kind of locked into their existing properties and not moving. There's no question it's been hugely disruptive to the buy-to-let market. That's clear. But what was not clear to me until today is how the recovery has been so strong, that it's shaken off that pandemic, and the buy-to-let market now seems to be have a lot of demand for rental properties and actually a shortage of properties. And that is forcing up rents. Rents are getting back to pre-pandemic levels again. They're not quite there yet, but they're getting there. And even just, again, looking at the people there, it seemed to me that they look to the future with some confidence now, that they wouldn't have had a year ago or maybe even 6 months ago. So it was an encouraging event from that point of view. It's amazing how resilient sectors of the economy can be despite something as disruptive as this pandemic.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I think obviously the property sector is absolutely booming. And I think for us, in terms of what we do, we've seen a huge amount of new people coming into and subscribing to what, our various products that we offer as well for landlords. And I've actually seen a younger generation. Have you noticed?
There were a lot of younger faces in the audience
Yeah.
Today, taking notes,
Yeah, well, that's
learning
good.
from that. I think they see some opportunities there too. Look, in any business, when demand exceeds supply, that's a good business to be in.
Yeah.
And that's a time when you can put your prices up, and any inventory properties that you have, you've got a chance of getting it away. And I think the other thing was interesting too, was that this isn't just, so often when we talk about the property market, it concentrates on London and the home counties, the South East. It was quite clear that property demand is strong throughout the country. And indeed that the pandemic, if anything, it was interesting that I'd read about this, but wasn't sure it was happening. But the panel said it was, the experts said it, that it was that the lockdown has made people think about where they live. And about the scale of their property, and whether they need to commute every day. And if they work from home a bit more, could they have a garden? Yeah. Could they have room for an office somewhere where the kids can play as well? And maybe it's time to get out. And of course, the further out you are from a big city, you've always got that dreaded commute. And here in London in the southeast, people can commute for an hour and 90 minutes at times every day. Yeah. You see them on the M4 or in the trains and so on. But if you're not going into the office every day, as many have moved to a more hybrid kind of working, then why not look about renting a house 20, 30 miles away from a big city? Yeah. Because you can then plan, I'm going to go in that day. And here's the other thing, I may be able to go in, but not during the rush hour. Yeah, as absolutely. Well. So I think there are definitely demographic changes taking place, and the buy-to-let market, I think, is reflecting these changes. And and what is on offer reflects the changing demand as well.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. We just did a show in our Manchester show 2 weeks ago, which is our first one back, and the amount of young people from all over the country that were coming up to look for investment opportunities, in Liverpool, Manchester, and in all of those areas was amazing to see actually travelling up. So I totally agree with you.
I think also what's happened is that a lot of older people, let's say the over 55s, I think lockdown has made them rethink their lifestyle. And instead of living in a smallish apartment in the center of a city or even just outside the center, they're thinking, well, actually, I'm not going to go back to 5 days a week anymore. I'm just going to do 2 days a week and maybe another day from home as well. So why do I need to be in this little place now? I'm going to move out. My lifestyle was changed. More time to see the grandkids, more time with the family, more time to pursue hobbies. That won't change. I think that's a kind of lifestyle change that the pandemic has brought on. And that again will reflect the changing demand in the buy-to-let market. Because to do it, people may not actually think of buying a place to begin with, because it's a bit of an experiment. So rather than buying a place, let's rent and see how we get on.
Yeah.
You can always buy later if it works. And if you look, it's not just a London phenomenon. If you look at what's happening outside Birmingham or Manchester or Leeds, of course, if you're in Leeds, you don't have to go 10 miles to the north. You're in some of the most beautiful countryside in the United Kingdom, in Europe. Yeah. So I think the pandemic has, despite it being the most miserable of times, as we come out of it, it's had some upsides.
Yeah, I agree. I think it has it 100%, and it's made people reflect on what's really important.
Exactly, to rechanging your priorities.
Yeah, and if there's a way of doing it, and I think that's so I think we've heard it here that I think bricks and mortar are definitely a safe bet for the future.
They're a good investment then, I think.
It's a good investment, and I think obviously it's great to see so many people out at our event today.
It's not a dying industry, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's it.
It really isn't.
Well, Andrew, thank you so much again, as always.
Pleasure.
It's
always good
to
be here.
And I'm always taking you running around the building to try and find some sort of auditorium somewhere. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll conclude that today, and thank you to Andrew Neil and all of the panelists that took part in our the UK's biggest landlord debate. I'm Tracey, National Landlord Investment Show. I hope to see you all soon, and thank you very much for joining us today.